Welcome back, I'm Felix, and I am reacting to sci-fi movies so bad they were pulled from theaters. So, I want to see how many of these I recognize. Some I probably recognize just because I saw them in other videos because they were so bad at movies. But let's see what they got here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's watch some sci-fi, see how bad it really was.
We're about to watch the most embarrassing sci-fi movie disasters ever made. Movies that were pulled from theaters so fast most people never even heard they existed. Charles Band's Empire Pictures made its name on cheap genre movies with questionable scripts and a lot of technical flaws.
Now, I don't recall ever seeing this movie, but I know the movie because it was on another list of bad movies. Actually, I think it was on a list of good movies that were overlooked too, so I guess it's a matter of taste.
Sometimes there's a B-movie charm in that, but Metal Storm does not even have that going for it. The poster promised high noon.
Actually, I think I did say I saw it because it looked familiar, but I think it's one of those movies I saw maybe bits and pieces of.
At the end of the universe, but the actual movie ended up a muddled mashup of Westerns, Road Warrior, and Star Wars. Universal picked this up after they convinced theaters to run Jaws 3D, hoping to cash in on the short-lived 3D craze of the early 80s. Metal Storm tried to ride that wave, but it was clearly a low-budget version of other 3D movies like Space Hunter that came out the same year. And that movie had a budget 6 times bigger.
So this was a 3D movie? I wouldn't have figured that, actually. Although back then, I would say maybe the 80s, maybe a little of the 90s, 3D movies were all the way rage, and they are starting to make a comeback again.
Out in 549 theaters, but on average it lasted only about 2 weeks before being pulled. By day 19, it had lost 91% of its screens. Even with that quick exit, it managed to gross $5.3 million on a reported $2.5 million budget, but that number hides the reality. Prints, advertising, and all the cuts taken by theaters and distributors meant Metal Storm ended up deep in the red. The name alone set this one up for failure.
This one I actually saw. What's funny, he stayed acting through the 80s and maybe a little of the 90s, but then he just kind of vanished. I don't know what his name was. But I actually remember seeing Solar Babies on TV. And at the time when I saw it, it never dawned on me that this movie was in the theaters because it's not that good of a movie, but it's a fun movie to watch. It's one of those type of movies.
Imagine pitching a post-apocalyptic action movie and calling it Solar Babies. It sounds like toddlers on the beach, not roller skating through a dystopian wasteland. Even Solar Ball would have made more sense, especially with James Caan out there trying to sell the central sport. The movie never got a big release. Nobody showed up. It averaged barely over a week and a half per theater before most just gave up and dumped it, losing 75% of its screens in under 2 weeks. Critics tore into the plot and the effects. Audiences had no interest in its post-apocalyptic mix of sci-fi and sports, and its timing couldn't have been worse. It opened the exact same day as Star Trek: The Voyage Home. Just over 2 weeks later, The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy showed up, and Solar Babies had already disappeared from almost every theater. The whole thing barely lasted long enough to be forgotten.
It wasn't that good of a movie. It's not a movie that I fondly think back and go, oh, I gotta watch that movie again. But it is a movie I remember watching. It felt kind of silly, but like I said, I did watch it. It was on TV. It's probably something I just decided to watch because it was on TV.
Hollywood has tried for decades to turn toy lines into hits.
Oh, yeah. This, I think, had 2 or 3 different cartoons. And then they made this movie, and I was just like, when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, is this for real? I remember seeing the trailer thinking, what is this? The trailer even looked bad.
Sometimes it works. Barbie broke every rule and made billions. But for every Barbie, there's a Max Steel. The franchise started as a toy line in 1999, then became an animated series a year later with a bunch of straight-to-video movies thrown in.
Man, that was horrible looking. Wow, that was bad.
The wave hit with the MCU and Transformers money rolling in. Mattel pushed for a live-action Max Steel movie. The end result was a total flop. Max Steel opened wide on more than 2,000 screens but lasted barely 3 weeks, and in that time, hardly anyone showed up. The final cost was about $20 million after tax rebates, but it didn't even make a quarter of that worldwide. After 3 weeks playing to virtually empty houses, it was pulled from theatrical distribution. 2.5 months later, it was available on home video.
It just looks like a straight-to-video movie, which is probably what it should have been.
Adapting childhood nostalgia is always a mind.
I actually watched Jim and the Holograms growing up. When I saw there was going to be a movie, because it was Jim and the Holograms, Bigfoot, and there was another one. There was a third one. But Bigfoot and Jim and the Holograms, and I can't remember what the third one was. But it was like a hour and a half block or a 2 hour block of them. And when I heard there was going to be a movie, it was like, oh, I can't wait to see how they do this. Then I saw it and I was like, oh, bury that. It was like, if you want to reimagine it, at least do a good job doing it.
But Jem and the Holograms took it to another level. The movie tried to update the classic 80s cartoon. They swapped the original story for a YouTube-driven plot and ended up pleasing nobody. Nostalgic fans hated the changes, and new audiences just didn't get it at all. Variety later named it one of the 4 worst wide releases ever. It opened on over 2,000 screens, but lost almost all of them in under 2 weeks, dropping to about 50 theaters, a 98% collapse. The per-screen average was just $160 in its opening week. In the end, Jem made only $2.4 million worldwide against its $5 million budget. The movie came and went so fast, most people never even knew it existed.
Jim and the Holograms, you could think of it this way. Jim and the Holograms was Hannah Montana before Hannah Montana. I know I said that weird. But the thing is, Jim and the Holograms was first, then Hannah. If they wanted to reimagine it, they could have went the Hannah route. But they didn't. Because one of the things I always hate when they redo cartoons, especially from my era, in most of the cartoons, they were adults doing adult things, but it was geared towards kids. When they reimagine it, they always want to make the main character a kid. It's like, they weren't a kid. Why are you making them a kid? And that's what they did. It's like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's like, how about don't make them a kid? Just stick with the formula. Like, because Jim, I can't remember what her real name was an adult. It's like, you should have made her an adult. At least put her in her 20s. I don't know how old she was supposed to be in that movie. But I got the sense that she was supposed to be a teenager. So they should have put her in her 20s working. You know what I mean? And I just hate when they reimagine it and they drop the ball.
If any film was destined for the trash heap, it was this one.
Let me tell you, when we heard this was going to be a movie back in the day, no one was expecting a good movie. No, not even fans of the show or fans of the cards were expecting it to be a good movie. They did have a cartoon that lasted for a bit, but no one was expecting this to be like a must-see movie. We thought it was hilarious that they even made a movie. It wasn't like a movie. It wasn't like a must-go-see movie. It was just like they made a movie about, because if you ever look up the Garbage Pail Kid cards, you'll see why even people who are fans of those, I was a fan too, or be like, yeah, they probably shouldn't make a movie to this, because we're thinking it's going to be like the cards, it's going to be raunchy, and it wasn't. They dropped the ball again.
The Garbage Pail Kids started as a tongue-in-cheek trading card.
It should have been a TV movie. It probably would have done better.
A kind of gross-out response to the Cabbage Patch Kids craze of the 1980s. By the time the movie rolled out, the card fad had faded, parents were in charge of the wallets, and the whole project just fell apart. Parents protested the subject matter, critics tore it apart, and its box office was a disaster. It only opened in major markets, pulling in just $661,000.
I don't know about major markets. I live in West Virginia. We're not a major market. It was shown around here. What was the definition of major markets?
The distributor, Atlantic Releasing, never really pulled it. They didn't have to. Theaters dumped it immediately. It lost 281 of its 374 screens after week 1, and by week 2, it was down to 48 screens.
I wonder what happened to that kid. This guy here, he was in a lot of things in like the late 80s, early 90s, and then he just kind of vanished. I'm not that curious for why I'm going to look it up, but it just popped in my head.
In just 4 cities. The movie was effectively thrown out with the trash. Years later, Tim Burton would adapt bubblegum cards for Mars Attacks, but even that was more of a curiosity than a hit.
I like Mars Attack.
Delgo is the classic case of the little indie that just couldn't make it work. Here's an independent CGI animated movie that actually tried to go head-to-head with Pixar. They even brought in a stacked cast: Freddie Prinze Jr., Jennifer Love Hewitt, Val Kilmer, Burt Reynolds. They spent...
Here's my thing. If you're going to put a movie like this in the theaters, you got to make it look good. If you don't take the time to make it look good, people are going to tear it apart. And that's what happened with this movie. It didn't look good. And for the timing when it came out, there was much better animation, much better CGI stuff going on for this movie to look the way it did. It was like it should have come out in the 90s. Probably if it actually came out in the 90s, it would have done better.
Almost a decade getting it made, poured $40 million into it, and then watched it go down in flames. Delgo opened on over 2,100 screens, but almost nobody showed up. Theaters reported about $237 per screen that first weekend.
I mean, look at the characters. They look odd. They don't look like characters you want to see. I mean, I don't know what they were going for, but it didn't work.
Works out to maybe 11 people a day. It vanished so quickly it made a single appearance in Variety's box office report before disappearing. There was no shortage of problems. Fathom Studios wanted to go straight from nothing to making the next Toy Story, but they didn't know how to make a movie. The people writing and producing had almost no experience. It somehow took 6 writers to come up with a script that didn't have a single original idea. By the time Delgo finally landed in theaters, the Christmas holiday release window was already overflowing, and the film's CGI looked at least 7 years out of date. The character designs didn't connect, and the marketing barely existed. Delgo was gone from most theaters within a week. That's about as bad as it gets.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like that shit came out in the 90s, and they dumped $40 million into it. Back then, you should have made a hit movie.
The Adventures of Pluto Nash is what happens when every single
I know it's a bad movie, but I enjoy it. It's a fun movie. You can't take this movie serious at all. Is it a good movie? No. Is it a fun movie? Yes. My sister actually likes this movie too.
Eddie Murphy's career had already swung between highs and absolute disasters, and Pluto Nash is him landing on the wrong side, big time. The movie started out as an idea 20 years before it ever got made. It bounced through development hell for decades, changed directors more than once, and when it finally got going, things just kept getting messier. Director Ron Underwood said that Murphy rejected script after script. He wanted to play it straight and bring his own comedy, and that left the film without any real direction. Early test screenings in 2001 were a disaster. Critics trashed the unfinished cut, and the studio scrambled for reshoots, hoping to salvage something, but it didn't work. Pluto Nash sat on the shelf for 2 years before finally limping into theaters. When it finally opened, it got dumped into more than 2,000 theaters, none of which wanted it for long. The film lasted an average of just under 3 weeks per screen. It lost a fortune and went down as one of the most expensive sci-fi flops ever made.
That's not a record you want to hold. One of the most expensive sci-fi flops, man. But like I said, it's a fun movie. If you get a chance to watch it, I say watch it. Remember, it's a bad movie, but it's a fun movie.
Sometimes a movie bombs, and that's the end of the story.
I have never wanted to see this movie. The main reason is because Jared Leto. I do not like Jared Leto's. Sorry, something like went in my eye, and it's like, whoo. Well, anyway, I'm not a Jared Leto fan. I can't stand him. But what's bad is Tron actually looked good. And I still may see Tron on streaming, but I did want to go to the movies and see it on the big screen. But I want everyone to also keep in mind that Tron, all three Trons were not good movies. They all didn't do well. The first one was a straight up flop. I think the second one maybe made his money back. And the third one isn't doing too well. And it is him. It's Jared Leto. People don't want to see him. And the worst part is it's acting. I can't explain it. It's if you've ever watched Jared Leto, you understand. I am not a fan of his. Just not.
With Morbius, it bombed so badly they actually gave it a second shot and managed to flop even harder the second time.
Oh my God.
Sony put Morbius out on over 4,200 screens, but people just weren't interested. After the initial run, most theaters dropped it, and after 2 months it was down to just 83 screens. The domestic box office didn't even come close to covering the budget. Normally that would be it.
Is she supposed to be green? She looks green. I guess I would have to watch it to find out, and I don't want to.
Move on and pretend it never happened. But Morbius took on a life of its own online. People started turning the film's failure into a meme. The Morbius sweep hashtag exploded, and everyone was pretending it was some kind of massive cultural event, even though it was the exact opposite. So Sony, missing the point, decided to re-release Morbius. Somehow they believed all that attention would bring in a new audience. It put the film back into more than 1,000 theaters. Instead, Morbius bombed again, even harder than before. Sony pulled the movie after just a week, making it a rare case where a flop manages to flop twice.
They were trying to create their own MCU universe using Morbius as a jumping off point. It just didn't work.
Madame Web is a new low for Sony's Spider-Man universe.
He said, "Madame." I have never heard it called that. And again, another movie I had no desire to see.
One bombed right out of the gate. The Hollywood Reporter published an obituary for it just days after its President's Day weekend debut. With a budget around $80 million, probably more, and a worldwide gross just over $102 million, Madame Web stands as one of 2024's biggest box office failures. Theaters didn't even try to keep it going. Only 30 days after release, Madame Web was available for digital download. Some blamed review bombing by people who never intended to watch the movie anyway. But that didn't change the fact that critics and general audiences both panned it. Still, the film found some kind of afterlife on streaming. For a while, Madame Web was #1 on Netflix's Top 10 Movies chart in the US and cracked the top 10 in countries like Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan. Whether that helps recoup any losses is anybody's guess. Theatrically, though, Madame Web was done before it even started.
Yeah, the trailer didn't make me want to go see it. When I watched the trailer, it's just like, that's not a movie I want to see at all. And yeah, there were people criticizing it before it even came out. I just made the comment, it's not a movie I want to see. If the trailer doesn't make me want to see the movie, I'm not going to see the movie. Maybe I'll watch it on streaming one day, but otherwise I have no desire to see Madame Web or Morbius. So.
Before Spider-Man,
Okay. This is actually a fun movie too. I saw this as a kid on a school field trip. We went to the theaters and watched this. At the time, I didn't know Howard the Duck was a Marvel property. And really, at that age, I shouldn't have known it was because it's the Marvel version way raunchier. And this was not the Marvel version. They did show a nude duck. But other than that, there was nothing. Yeah, it's just a fun movie. Again, it's one of those movies, if you're not looking for anything serious, just something fun, this is a fun movie. If you're looking for Howard the Duck, this is actually not Howard the Duck. This is his counterpart, Multiverse. This is the multiverse Howard the Duck.
Iron Man, before even the never-released Fantastic Four, there was Howard the Duck. It was Marvel's first real attempt at a blockbuster movie, if you can call it that, and it was a total train wreck. Howard started out as a comic by Steve Gerber and Val Myrick, mixing absurdity and satire with a duck trying to survive in the human world. When George Lucas signed on as executive producer and American graffiti writers Willard Huyck and Gloria Katz came in, people actually had high expectations.
Problem is, I guarantee you, none of them read this source material.
What ended up on screen was almost unrecognizable. The filmmakers redesigned Howard, and he lost everything that made him interesting in the comics. People hated it. Howard the Duck ended up sweeping the Razzies with 4 wins. Theaters dropped it fast. Howard the Duck opened in more than 1,500 theaters, but 4 weeks later, 80% had already pulled it. It averaged less than 3 weeks per theater. The film's global box office nearly matched its budget, but that didn't matter. Breaking even meant earning at least twice the budget, thanks to marketing and distribution costs. Howard the Duck never had a chance.
There's a scene where she even makes out with the duck. Yeah, that's one of those movies that you can't take serious either. Just watch it for fun. All right, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget, some bad movies are just fun to rot. Some bad movies are just fun to watch. All right, everyone. Take care. Later.